The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you.
All security! And on the phone line, he is the co-host of the BJ and Migs show on 99.9 KISW, The Rock in Seattle. Migs is on Hoppe Hour. What's up, man?
Dude, doing good. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How has everything been? I listen to the show when I can via podcast, and you guys are just kicking ass. It sounds like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, you know, that's the nice thing about doing the show together for as long as we have. You kind of do become a machine in a sense. You know, you get a rhythm of each other, all the members of the show, not just BJ and I, but, you know, Vicky, Rev, our new guy, Danny, and then BJ's kids, Sarah and Joe. And also this guy Chris. We just work so well together that, yeah, it's a lot of work to be put into doing a radio show. But when you work with people you like, it's a lot of fun, and the process it's challenging, but you're having a good time while you're doing it.
Now, you talk about the team that you work with, and within the last year, you guys have added Danny as one of your producers. How has he been as the addition to the show?
Oh, he's been great. The guy's, man, I'm a firm believer in just like good attitude and a strong vibe. I think you can, like, everything else is teachable. That's usually the one factor that isn't. And he already came to us with so many great skills, so it wasn't like as if, you know, we had to, like, bring him up to speed. He was already, as soon as he started working with us, he took the ball and ran with it. He's brought so much more behind the scenes that we didn't have, whether it be just a real strong leadership when it comes to social media. He's got a great ear for being a producer. It's nice for me to have somebody else to bounce ideas off of, and just brings a great energy. He's a solid dude, well loved by everybody in the hallways, including our show. So it's been awesome.
So every year at the morning show boot camp, there's different panels. It's a radio conference for people that don't know, and often you're kind of held as one of the best producers in radio, and I would agree. You, Randy from Fitz in the Morning, what do you think you do that brings recognition to the business?
Dude, I don't know. That's a good question. I think what I do is just I push people to be the best version of themselves. I don't think you can walk in as a producer, and I told this to any other producer, you shouldn't really go in with any kind of agenda. You have to vibe off of the people that you work with and find what makes them great and steer them in the direction that continues to build them up to that level. I mean, it's really, producers are so subjective. I mean, some producers, they're very clerical. I'm not a very clerical guy. I can do it, but it's not my strong suit. I'm more of I have a vision. I want to see the vision go this certain way, and I don't care how we execute it, which is the nice thing about having a strong, big team. It's just about, all right, this is where I want us to get to, and now the fun part is to see how we're going to get there. So, I mean, I appreciate the kind words. I don't know what makes me a good producer compared to somebody else. I think I think I have a strong ear for what sounds good on the radio and what works for our show, and I know how to execute it. And I bust my ass, so I've had the ability to earn the trust and respect from the people that I need to trust and respect me in order to make these things happen. From the BJs to our bosses to our general managers to the main people running our company. I think they see that I know what I'm doing, and I accomplish everything that I set out to accomplish.
So now for prep, BJ said that you come up with the prep and then you present it to him. Are you often texting him, giving him ideas for the show as you're looking for prep for the next morning?
Fuck no, man. I don't want to talk to BJ all day. I talk to him before. No, I'm kidding. No, it goes back to the trust thing, man. He just comes in and he knows that I'm not going to steer him in the wrong direction. And also, BJ's freaking, that guy is incredible when it comes to just flying off the handle and flying, not off the handle. Well, he used to be that way. He's not as crazy as he used to be. But no, like, he can just fly off the cuff. And that's what I love about working with BJ. He's so quick-witted. He doesn't need him and I to prep all day and bounce ideas off of each other. We go in and we have an idea of what we're going to do, and then we just kind of hit the ground and run with it. And the nice thing is that we both love the improv side of radio, and we just react off of how each other is in the morning. So no, we're not one of those shows that's just constantly sending each other stories and ideas and getting too caught up in, that side of the prep. We have an idea of where we want to go with certain things, and the beauty of live radio is, there is no safety net. You just kind of see what happens, and so long as you work with somebody that you can trust, like I work with BJ and the rest of the crew, I know that no matter what is put in front of us as far as content, we're gonna find an entertaining way to deliver it.
So each year you guys do Live Day, where everything you do all day long is live, and it's some of the best radio you can possibly hear. But it also sounds like it would take a lot of work, and there's a lot of pressure. So how does Live Day go down? How much pressure do you have for it?
It's funny. We usually start prepping Live Day like about a month after we finish it. Nothing too hardcore. There's like a core of like 4 or 5 of us that really start prepping early for Live Day, and inside of that, there's a core of 3 that are super working on Live Day, and I'm not one of those 3. I'm one of the 5 maybe, but there's a guy, Jason Dildine, who's our production director, Dave Richards, our boss, and Ryan Castle, our assistant program director, music director, and he does middays. The 3 of them are truly the genius behind Live Day. They put so much time, and Jason, especially our production director, he becomes the producer of Live Day. He's there before I get there at 4 a.m., making sure everything's in order, and he's there all morning orchestrating what needs to go where. So I'm more there just to kind of throw ideas and also troubleshoot the ideas that they come up with, like, hey, I don't know if that's going to work, or hey, have you thought about doing this, or this is something that we do and I think we need to incorporate it into Live Day. Jason and then Dave and Ryan, they really execute it, and the funny thing is, they stress out so much about it, and understandably, it's an undertaking. For those that don't know, what Live Day is everything on our show is done live, from the commercials to the voice guy, Malcolm, who's our voice guy. He's probably a voice guy for a lot of radio stations. I know he is in the country, and he flies in for it. And we have bands performing all the music live, from the music bed to the songs that we play in the morning and also in the afternoon. And so it's all done live. And so they stress about that, and I get it, because there's a lot of shit going on. And then they ask me, why don't you look stressed? And I'm like, dude, no matter what, it's a win-win for us. If it falls apart, there's entertainment in that for our audience, because it's a giant train wreck. And so knowing that even if it all falls apart and it sucks, our audience is going to find great humor in it, because they know it's being all done live. And they're kind of waiting for that. It's like how some people watch car racing because they're waiting for the car crash. I know people are listening all morning hoping for us to fall apart. So when you have that in the back of your mind, it kind of puts you at ease. So Live Day is a blast. I look forward to it every year. And I also just enjoy watching how many people from our station come together to collaborate to make this all happen. The local music scene that also gets involved in it as well. It's just a cool experience to see a lot of creative minds working together to put this out on KSW.
So you were just talking about how the listeners really enjoy Live Day and they want to hear the good parts of it, or potentially a train wreck coming from it. How awesome is your fan base there in Seattle? Because they seem like a very loyal bunch of listeners, but they're not mean-spirited like in some markets. It seems like you guys have very laid-back fans.
Yeah, Poppy and legal really helps in Washington, I'll tell you. Honestly, we have the most incredible audience. I think you summed it up best. It's not really, you're going to have mean-spirited people anywhere you go, but for the most part, on the whole, our audience is super cool, super chill, very smart, very funny, man. Some of the funniest crap that happens on our show is either a funny text or a call from a listener just sharing something just, hilarious, and loyal to the utmost degree. We go and do our listener parties. It's always sold out or packed out, or whenever we do anything, they're there for us, and they're so appreciative. Even today I was just pumping gas, and the guy next to me just yells my name out, and I go talk to him, and the first thing he said was, "Hey, thanks for entertaining me in the mornings and getting me through traffic." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, that is, you really can't, you can't put a price on that feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just it's cool to know that like people that I see a lot of myself in the sense that, you know, they're doing the same interests, the same things that they're into, I'm into, same music, whatever it may be, are fans of what we do. It's humbling, and the fact that people are so cool, it makes waking up every morning 1,000% worth it.
Now, what about the weird listeners that potentially either are creepy or take radio too seriously? Do you have that up there in Seattle?
Oh, yeah, dude, of course. And the harmless, most of the time. I mean, I say that now. Watch tomorrow, I get shanked on the way into work. But for the most part, the ones that you, quote-unquote, call creepy or different are harmless and, more often than not, very interesting. Like, just take a minute to talk and hear their story. And, I mean, I don't know if half the time they're making up the stuff in their own head and they're just sharing with us, or they're going through certain things. But, bro, I mean, sometimes there was for a while, I'll show up to work and there was a guy waiting outside just to say hi. And at first it was really terrifying, you know, because it's 3:30 in the morning and I don't necessarily want to talk to anyone that early because I'm fucking tired. But also, you're like, why are you here? What is your goal? Like, where is this going? And then slowly but surely, I just started talking to him over the course of that week, and turned out to be a genuinely nice but very different individual. And so, yeah, I think any radio show, any radio station, you're going to have your share of out there characters. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too trusting in a sense. But for the most part, I haven't had any instances where I felt like, okay, this guy is freaking me out or anything like that. It's just, everybody's a little different, and in Seattle, there's a lot of really different people.
Do you think that's because weed is legal there and the weed culture kind of makes everybody laid back? You know what I mean?
You know, I've been here long enough to where it wasn't legal, and it was the same. You know, the pot being legal really is just, I mean, it's cool. It's nice that you can walk into a store and buy a certain product, an edible, you know, the leaves or whatever it may be that you're into, and you can kind of get an idea of how strong it is, how potent it is, what kind of strain it is. But I don't think it's changed the overall vibe of the people here. I think just Seattle in general has always been that way. It's a very eclectic city. I mean, you look at the music that came out and put Seattle on its map back in the early 90s, and it stood out from all the other type of music. And I think that's what made it so popular. It was like, holy shit, these guys aren't your typical hair metal band. They're just dudes that I would meet, you know, at a bar, and although they're just super freaking talented at their instruments and they're writing incredible songs, it's just a unique, very real, I don't know, it's just nobody's trying to be a certain thing that they're not here in Seattle. Everyone's just who they are, and everybody embraces each other for the most part for who they are.
I think you guys don't get enough credit as a market, too, for your fan bases, for your sports teams. I mean, you guys love your soccer team, you guys are diehard Seahawk fans, and you guys loved the Supersonics back in the day. I think you guys don't get enough credit when it comes to being good sport fans up in the Pacific Northwest.
And, you know, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that we weren't successful. Any of our sports team weren't for the longest time. So people just never paid attention to Seattle. It's funny when, like, people are now, like, you know, calling Seahawk fans bandwagon fans. Where were they before they won the Super Bowl? And I get that. I mean, I get it for the most part. But if you live here and I mean, CenturyLink, or at the time when it was Quest Field, was selling out way before there was any chance of a Super Bowl happening. But, you know, we're so far away from everybody else, you just kind of get easily ignored. And it took winning a Super Bowl for people to pay attention to Seattle being a sports city. And then the Sounders winning the MLS Cup last year. I mean, the Sounders fan base has just been insane since day one. But that definitely added to the lure of Seattle. And then, you know, of course, then we had the Mariners, who just continue to want to punch us in the dick for being fans and continue to lose. So hopefully they can figure it out, because, you know, there was once a time in the late 90s, early 2000s that Seattle baseball, the Mariners, were the biggest thing in town because they were so damn dominant. But we're very far away from that right now.
Isn't it crazy that what's-his-name is playing baseball at the age of 41 on the Marlins?
Oh, Ichiro, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Ichiro Suzuki playing baseball at age 41. Isn't it crazy, dude?
It's insane, man. It's insane that when he first came to the Mariners, like, he was already at the midpoint of his career. I mean, he had so many years in Japan, and then obviously won Rookie of the Year. I mean, how could he not? He was already a mature baseball player that just walked in and just started crushing it with Seattle. I mean, it's also crazy. I mean, you got your dude down in Florida in the world of hockey, Yager, who I just read is thinking about doing another freaking season. And he's, like 42 years old, and he's still upper echelon of a hockey player.
Now, do you like to watch a lot of hockey? Because I know you like to play it in your free time.
I probably like playing it more than I do watching it, and it's only because my hockey team is the New Jersey Devils. Similar to the Mariners, they find creative ways to kick me in the groin every time I watch them. I mean, it's just, after a while, you can only watch a team lose so many times before you're like, yeah, maybe I'll just watch wrestling instead.
Can you give me into wrestling? Please explain to me why wrestling is so great. I went to Monday Night Raw back in January when it was in Tampa, and I loved it. But for some reason, bro, I can't get over that it's fake. Explain to me why wrestling is great.
You know what it is? I think once you accept that it's not a sport, I think that's the thing, is too many people want to connect it to MMA or boxing, and I get what your opinion is. But, like, I mean, I don't know if you're a fan of Breaking Bad or The Walking Dead. I mean, you can enjoy those shows and you know that they're fake, right? That's what wrestling is. Wrestling is just entertainment. It's just a television show that also has physical moments in it that have the risk of danger for these guys. I mean, but for the most part, what it really is just drama, orchestrated, violent drama. And once you look at it that way, and you suspend reality and don't look at it like it's a sport, I think that's when, if you talk to a lot of like hardcore wrestling fans like myself, that's why we like it. If I started viewing it like MMA, then yeah, I would have the same problem. I would completely be like a lot of people and always respond when someone says they like wrestling, say, oh, you realize it's fake. I'm like, yeah, fuck, I know it's fake. You also realize The Walking Dead is fake. There's no zombies that are walking around in the streets of Georgia biting people's heads. It's just entertainment.
What I do like about wrestling, it seems like they take care of the media. They appreciate radio or TV shows that support it when it comes to like Radio Row. I mean, whenever you guys go to Monday Night Raw or WrestleMania, I mean, you guys get all the interviews because it seems like they appreciate the media business.
They we were just talking about it on the air this morning. They are, without a doubt, and I don't know if all the wrestlers are actually decent people. I mean, for all I know, they're all jerks. But they train their entertainers to be incredibly great to their fans and also incredibly gracious to media. I mean, I saw your dude, Mike Calta. I didn't get a chance to say hi to those guys because they were doing their show live at Radio Row. But the way they work Radio Row and prep their wrestlers to walk up and they treat you all like as if they treat all of us radio folks like as if we're their best friend, and it's refreshing compared to some places. What I also love about radio, and I always bring this up, I mean wrestling, and I bring this up to fellow, whether it be you're a producer or an on-air talent, wrestling does a great job of character development, and I learned a lot in what I do in radio, and I apply a lot of what we do in radio to what they do in wrestling. I mean, when you look at it, wrestling, everything for the most part, I mean, there's a lot of ebbs and flows and there's roller coasters of stories that happen throughout the year. But for the most part, what they're building is to their pay-per-view. So let's just say it's WrestleMania. They know what they want WrestleMania to be. They know what the payoff is. Now they work backwards. How do you get to the payoff? How do you create the storyline that's going to make a wrestling fan give a shit about going to watch WrestleMania? And I think radio should view that as well in the sense of entertainment. Sometimes we know whether it be a bit, whether it be an event, we know what we want to get to. Now, how do we get there? Whether it be on a massive level or whether it be on a small level, like it's a week-long promotion. All right, so, okay, we know that we want to do this big party with rock girls on this date. What do we want to do to build up to that so that people are going to want to attend it and people are going to want to give a crap about attending it? So that's something that I feel like a lot of people can pick up from wrestling, whether or not you like the stories and you think it's fake or whatever it may be. You got to respect the way they play the game and the way that they create their characters and are so dedicated to what the character is. These guys don't break character, whether it's an exaggerated version of who they really are or it's a completely made-up thing like an Undertaker. They don't break character, and they make you believe it. And we, on the radio, are all characters. So, and for the most part, on the radio, and I'm sure with you as well, like, you're an exaggerated version of yourself. When the microphone's off, a lot of us are a little bit more subdued, maybe introverted. But when that microphone's on, you better know who the hell you are, and you better be great at it. And I think that's what I've learned from wrestling.
Why do you think us radio guys are so much different off the mic? I mean, when you go to like a radio conference like the Morning Show Boot Camp, everybody that's the biggest loudmouths on air are the ones that are the most quiet at the bar. I find it fascinating that the ones that talk the most are the ones that are so laid back and quiet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't speak for others, but I can speak obviously for myself, and I feel like there might be similarities to some. For me, I'm exhausted. When I do a show, I mean, I love to entertain, but by the end of the show, my brain just needs to decompress. So for the rest of the day, I'm typically pretty chill. I know it drives my wife nuts sometimes because she's like, you're not even talking. And I'm like, I just want to listen. Like, I just want to chill out and relax and not really have a lot to say at this point. I'm all talked out. Now that she's working in a job where she kind of has to do something like that, and she works in human resources and spends a lot of time on the phone talking. And now when she comes home, she's like, I get it. I get what you mean. I think you hit a point where you just really have run out of things to say. And so you just kind of want to sit back and watch other people be entertaining. That's how it is for me. I enjoy not being the center of attention when I'm at a bar or out with my friends. I'd rather just sit back and every once in a while chime in, of course, because I don't want to be the weirdo in the corner staring at my friends. But I just enjoy watching and listening to other people's stories. I think for some people in radio also, I do think that the reason why we do what we do and we're larger than life characters when the microphone is on is because we're not that. We have never been that, and this is a chance for us to be that. So old habits die hard when the microphones are off, in a sense. Like if you were a quiet, introverted person growing up in high school and college or whatever it may be, chances are you're still that way. But when the mics are on, a good radio personality knows they need to step it up and turn it on and be charismatic or be entertaining. But then when the mics are off, I think you kind of just fall back into your old ways.
So now, before I let you go, man, what I want to ask you is, would you ever want to do your own show on your own, or are you happy with the ride you've had with BJ this last decade?
It's funny when you said, because I always think about I remember a long time ago, Gwen Stefani was interviewed about No Down, if she ever want to go solo. And she's like, no, I'm happy where I'm at. And the next thing you know, she goes solo. So it's like, whenever I hear people be asked this question, I never trust what they're saying. But so I get a kick out of that question because I don't ever want to, I feel like I'm doing my own show. I don't know how else to explain it in the sense that this is what I want to do. It's always been like BJ's given me the keys to the car pretty much since day one. I mean, maybe after year one, once he realized he can trust me and knew that my vision for what I thought was a good show fell in line with his vision. So it's like when my name got put on the show, people are like, does it feel different? And I'm like, no, it's the same freaking show. I've always been this, and I've always had this opportunity. So I don't know how to answer the question other than I'm already doing it, so I don't feel like that thought never really crossed my mind because I'm already there. I'm already getting to do the show. If the question was like, do I want to do a show by myself? Absolutely not. That's crazy. I like doing a show with a team. I like doing a show where I have somebody like BJ who is a super inspiration. I give him a hard time on the air, and I'm sure as you listen, my goal is to get under his skin every morning. But I do it because the guy is so freaking great on his feet. Like, anytime I throw something his way, I think it's going to be a curveball, he hits a home run. And it's fun to watch that. So he's inspiring by how great he is improvisationally. And also the fact that he just has zero ego. I mean, some hosts, and I've done radio with other people, some hosts do not want to have someone throw shit their way. They have too big of an ego. How dare you say something that's moderately goofing on me? BJ's not that guy. He wants you to throw it his way because he knows he can catch it, throw it right back, and probably throw it, more often than not, throw it a lot harder. And that's what I love. So I could never imagine being alone doing a show. That would just be, I don't know, that would just be mind-numbingly awful for me. So what I'm getting to do, I hope this makes sense. What I'm doing right now is exactly what I want to do, and I'm getting to do everything that I want to do. So I don't have this urge to do anything else, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, man, because what I want to ask you, too, is do you and BJ have any projects or side things you're working on for this year, or are you guys pretty happy with the great amount of listeners you have for the morning show?
We both love podcasting. I wish more radio people would realize the importance of it. I'm so happy that there's so many A-level dudes outside of radio, and in radio too, but I'm a wrestling fan, someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin, or if you're a fan of comedy, someone like Mark Maron, or whatever it may be that you're into, like Chris Hardwick. I mean, these are big name guys that see the value and the importance of podcasting. A lot of radio people don't. They see it as competition or extra work. What I love about BJ and myself is that we both see value and actually encourage people on our show to podcast. It's a great way to get better at your craft without the fear of losing ratings. You know what I mean? I mean, people come to your podcast because they give a crap about you. They're a lot more forgiving than a casual listener that's just tuning in because, they're flipping the dials and they're just wanting something to be entertained for the next 15 minutes. So both of us are knee-deep in the world of podcasting. BJ's got a great podcast called BJ's Geek Nation with him and the Rev and Chris from our show and Vicky helps out and Joe. There's a lot of people on our show that are very big into geek culture, whether it be sci-fi, board gaming, video games. So it's like a morning show for geeks, and they do an incredible job. I do a podcast that every once in a while I interview some wrestlers. It's selfish. I just like talking to wrestlers, and I get that on our main show. That's a polarizing celebrity in the sense people love wrestling or hate it. So I do it on the podcast, and if something great happens on it, we'll throw it on the air. And I also love the local music scene, so I do a lot of stuff with local bands. I don't like bringing them on just to grill them about music. I like bringing bands on that I'm almost either acquaintances with or friends with, and then they're just kind of jumping in on the show. And then every once in a while I'll have them play a song acoustic just to mix it up and break it up. So we both find great fulfillment from podcasting. It would be awesome if one day that could also lead to more revenue for both the radio station and us. I feel like that's just around the corner. I think as podcasting continues to grow, the value of it will grow as well. But on the most important level, it's just fun to do something that involves audio entertainment without the stress of ratings. And also you can get a lot more uber-focused on the things that you nerd out about. For me, wrestling and music. For BJ, sci-fi, board games. We agreed there was more time in the day for us to do a original content podcast together. One day maybe we'll do that, but for the time being, it's just there's only so much time and almost so much production room availability to make that happen. So, right now we're happy where we're at with what we're doing in podcasting. If it grows to where there's more of a demand for us to do stuff outside of that, we're already ready to make that happen because we've been already knee-deep in the world of podcasting. So I love that medium. I think it's made us better on-air performers, and I think it's unfortunate that more radio professionals don't see the value in it because maybe it doesn't lead to dollars and cents, but there's a definite entertainment value to it and a value to your audience for them to do it. So I see great importance in the world of podcasting.
Now, before I let you go, dude, where can people find your work online and on the radio if they're not in the Pacific Northwest?
If they just Google it, it's easy to find. BJ Migs, M-I-G-S. I don't know if people are on iTunes. Obviously, it's there. But some people have different ways of finding stuff podcasting-wise, and they can find it that way just by Googling us. Or just go to KISW.com. We throw all the podcasts up there as well. There's an app where you can listen on the app or download it or whatever it may be. But it's pretty easy to find. If you know how to work Google, you should be able to find us.
Well, dude, keep up the good work. I will be at this year's morning show boot camp since it's in Georgia and I can drive the 7 hours. So I will be there, and we should get a beer then.
Yeah, are you going to do your... was it last year when you had all the beer in your room and you were like trying to like knock on chicks, like, hey, come out to my room, you want to drink some beer? Like, I have 3 beers in my room.
Well, now I have a girlfriend, so I wouldn't be using it to get laid. But dude, that was the best plan ever. Me and Davey from Chet's show in Vegas, dude, we had the best plan. We went to Winn-Dixie. We got like 2 cases of 24 packs of beer, so we had like 48 bottles. I'm not paying $9 at the bar for a Bud Light. So you go up to room, you get 2 beers at a time. Dude, it worked perfectly, man.
No, dude, I saw it. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Like, you kept coming down. And I'm pretty sure you had beer that they weren't even fucking selling at the bar, and you were unapologetic about just holding it. And I'm like, that's fucking great. I have a lot of respect for you that. I mean, I don't blame you. $9 was ridiculous. After the free drink tickets, I was on the same page with you. I was like, I ain't gonna drop $9 for 1 beer.
Dude, I bought a girl a drink. She works in a different market in radio, and I'm like, get what you want. And she says the name of the drink or whatever, and it was like $25 for that and then like 2 beers. So after the first night, I'm like, dude, I work in radio. I don't make much money. I can't afford this. So of course I'm going to go the low-key route of hiding beer in my room like a maniac. You know me, dude.
She just went top. I love that she went top shelf on you. That was fucking great on her part. All right, you want to buy me a drink? I'm going to make you pay for it, bitch.
I love everybody at the boot camp because everybody has an ego. And it's like the 3 days that you see the most low-key mom-and-pop morning shows just get very drunk.
Oh, dude, that's the best part about boot camp is really the time spent at the bar. I think anyone who does any kind of a work conference, I think we're lucky. Our work conference is still kind of cool, even going to the panels. I mean, some better than others, but for the most part, you know, you're around creative, interesting people. But for most conferences, I think we could all agree, no matter what your line of work is, it's the when everything's done, just beelining into the bar and just bullshitting with each other, getting drunk, having a good time. It's a great experience, and honestly, like some of the people that I've met at radio boot camps, I never thought I would have anything in common with them, and maybe this is not a good testament to, I mean, sometimes you just need to get drunk with somebody and you realize, oh, you're no different than I am. But there's been some great experiences and there's always great stories to be shared while at boot camp.
How about the night that you guys, I think you, the Reverend, Nelson, you guys all went and got White Castle in Chicago, and I had like 14 of them.
Dude, I think we might have bought the entire supply of White Castle burgers that night. We came back with at least 60, maybe 70 of those burgers, and I was so fucked up, I was convinced, well, we'll crush all of these. No, I mean, you ate 14, I probably had 10. I think we all put a massive dent into the amount, but I woke up the next day, I'm like, it doesn't even look like we eat any of these burgers. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, the cab ride was the best part. Remember, we took the cab, and I'm like, hey, man, we want to do a round-trip cab ride, so just go through the drive-thru. And he was, like, fucking pissed at us. He kept saying, no, get out of the cab. Like, he didn't want to do the drive-thru thing. Like, I didn't understand his logic behind it, but I'm like, dude, no, we'll pay you the entire time. Just get us through the drive, order the fucking burgers, and take us back home. We don't want to stay at White Castle. Like, we just want the freaking burgers. We're not looking to make a night out at White Castle.
And then there was that time I was pretty drunk. I think this was the first night of the second time I went in Chicago. And I kept putting my feet up on the bed for some reason, and you got mad at me. And I was like, oops, sorry, man. I kept saying, Ryan, I'm like, dude, I know it's not my home, but I just was brought up in a world where, you don't wear your shoes on somebody's bed. And I'm looking over and Hoppy in his fucking size, what do you wear, like size 17? Yeah.
And you got your fucking shoes on my bed. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, I'm going to be sleeping on this. But I know you didn't mean any harm. You were just so faded at that point that you would forget every 4 seconds. It was like Groundhogs Day with you, with your damn shoes on my bed.
And what I love, too, is I love how every morning at each of the morning show boot camp panels in the back, they have a whole tray of like 20 glasses of water for everybody, and they keep refilling it because every morning everyone is so hungover and so dehydrated. It's crazy, dude.
The best was, I think it was either last year or the year before, they had little hangover kits.
Yes.
And it was Pedialyte, aspirin, and like a 5-hour energy. And I'm just like, what other conference provides that for their attendees in the morning?
Well, dude, I think this August it's going to be another legendary radio boot camp. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with all the egos in one room. So it's been a lot of fun having you on Hoppe Hour again, dude.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Let me know if you ever want me back.
All right, sounds good. Keep up the good work, dude.
You too, man.
All right, peace out, bro.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.